Hey y'all, I'm Rebecca Powers, and this is my new podcast, PERMApowers. The intention for this podcast is to elevate well-being, to search for that inward, and thus bringing it to this physical realm outwardly toward your local community, family, interpersonal relationships, etc. Today, I'm going to share with you my journey, why I thought of this or even created this concept for a blog, and just really wanting to share different aspects of achieving a life of meaning. I was really interested in permaculture and just deepening our connection with nature and one another and making the planet a more harmonious place. And after banging my head against a wall trying to help with social change through policy and through this outward expression, it dawned on me that really where true change comes is in oneself. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with y'all today and throughout this journey. In the future, I'll be interviewing people who are on the PERMApowers path and totally crushing it and dominating at life. But today I just wanted to take a second to kind of introduce myself first and foremost as the host of this podcast, and also explain what the PERMA model for well-being means, as it was developed by someone else. And I feel through a divine calling, I was connected to this message and maybe even destined to help spread this information. So let me share with you how the PERMA model for well-being has helped me heal addiction, has helped me become a better version of myself, has helped me in my journey of entrepreneurship. And let's dive in head first. So I am just, I'm new at this. I'm not really someone who would usually share my story or feel even significant enough to talk about myself like this. In a lot of areas of my life, I've lived in the shadow of other people or have worked behind the scenes and kind of, I've always been interested in helping and building and creating, but I was never really in a place where I had enough confidence to step forward and share some of the things that I've gone through that have strengthened my armor and helped me become who I am today. So I'm going to be kind of vulnerable in this first episode, and it's just going to be about 30 minutes. We'll dive into kind of the PERMA, framework for well-being and what that means. And then I'm going to share how that applies to my life. So there's a difference between well-being and happiness. When I think of why I'm doing this, I think a lot of like social media influencers and even literature and content is focused on happiness. There's this interesting equation, H equals R over E, happiness equals reality over expectation. So in that mindset, you can either improve your reality to achieve happiness or lower your expectations to improve happiness. And while we do all in some way want happiness, that's not what life is going to deliver you 100% of the time. And that's okay. Often in the pain and the hardship and the trauma and the sadness, we actually meet a version of ourselves who helps us ascend to the highest version of who we are and what we're destined to do on this planet. So the reason I'm doing this is actually to focus on well-being. I think this is a much more holistic approach to finding who we are and coming to terms with that and improving ourselves. And when I was thinking of what to call this was back in 2016. Rebecca Powers. Okay, let me think of something with a P to start my podcast with, because I like the idea of Powers podcast. Okay, what could I start it with? And then I thought of the word permaculture. And then I thought, I wonder what perma means. Is it like Latin for something, or what is that all about? So I look up perma, and next thing you know, I'm stumbling upon all this information about positive psychology. And I swear to you, I'm not a super religious person, but it felt like this higher power, something was like, this entity was, coming through me and saying, this is it. This is what will help you. Because, my why and why I'm doing this is because I wasn't well at that time. I was really struggling. When you like learn about some of the conspiracies or the way that centralized institutions work and how it's working toward a disadvantage of common people and the mass of people and even our planet at large, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed, angry, frustrated. So in the liberty movement, there's this thing, are you going to take the blue pill or the red pill? But then there's this next step where they joke, well, if you take the red pill, now you've been black pilled. And what black pilled means is like, basically, you've become aware of a lot of the problems on the earth, and it's so overwhelming. And it's such a heavy burden. It hurts so deeply that you feel insignificant and you feel angry and you feel frustrated and you feel worthless. And like there's nothing that you could possibly do to undo all of the damage that's been done. And so that's where I found myself in 2016. So this was like after the Ron Paul revolution and after I had learned about Austrian economics and voluntarism and agorism and all these great concepts. But what was actually happening in reality? When you're reading something, it's one thing, but then when you're seeing things in real life and there's injustice and there's environmental issues with, pollutants and just things that are making us sick, and not well. And you look at how it impacts yourself and your community, it hurts. So that's kind of where I was operating from a place of pain. So I kind of had to look myself in the mirror and say, is this going to help the situation? Is this helping me? Because the truth is, in this black pill phase of my life, I was not healthy. And I know a lot of people who are also in a place where they just drink their worries away, or they drink to forget, they drink to escape. And I am guilty of that. And I didn't want to be that version of myself, but I didn't know how. It was like a vortex where you're like, like a spiral where I was falling further and further down. And I thought, how am I ever going to crawl out? Well, the thing about the red pill and the black pill is that what I was really taking was an orange pill. So my entire life, I had a really hard time sitting still and focusing and fitting into the public school system in this narrow box that was described as, if you're a successful female, you'll get married and have kids and you'll go to college and you won't swear and you won't take intoxicating substances, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but it's okay to take pharmaceuticals. So in my ADHD nature, moving around, blah, blah, I can't stay still, I was told that I had a disorder. I took a test for ADHD, and the doctor, wearing his white coat, was like, you are off the charts, ADHD. I was like, well, I said, what is ADHD? Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I'm like, damn, I have a disorder? What? And then he started to explain what it is. You have irritability. You can't sit still. You have a lot of energy. You're really creative. It's hard for you to focus. And I'm like, yeah, that is me. Okay. But this is where the disconnect happened. Instead of acknowledging that that was me and saying, well, okay, well, then what can I align with in my life to be me like that, hyper and creative, and be able to step into that and use it as a strength. Instead, I heard the word disorder, felt inadequate, and put my hand out and said, give me the pill. So they gave me orange pills that made me focus. It was great for like 10 years until it wasn't great. A car accident where I almost killed myself, and almost an overdose where I also almost killed myself. Like, these were things that happened in my life because of the pharmaceutical company, because I believed what I was being told. I thought that there was something wrong with me, and I was stupid enough to believe them. Ugh, I always cry. But it is a really heavy topic because I was in a place where I really didn't know how I could operate without this pill. In fact, I didn't call it Adderall. I called it my attention medicine. And without it, I was no one. Without it, I wasn't Superwoman accomplishing college and a collegiate cheerleader and a resident assistant and working another part-time job and all of these things that I attributed to success and worthiness. So that's pretty heavy, right? And maybe you have something in your life where you have a habit or you have a dependency or you have something going on that just doesn't resonate with you. Like I knew every day when I would swallow that pill that I wasn't meant to, but I did it anyway. I didn't know how not to do it. It was like that vortex, where you get stuck, and I was stuck and I didn't know how to crawl out. And I didn't have an identity without Adderall. Adderall became who I was. So the pain that Adderall brought me and my dependency to Adderall is what has strengthened me today to become to really appreciate how I've transformed inward, outward, and how I've showed up for myself. And it was through this decade of my life of taking this pharmaceutical that I now have so much appreciation for my personal health, my physical health, my spiritual health, my emotional health, the health of my relationships, the health of my career. It's crazy how interconnected all of these different areas truly are, and it's all stemmed around our daily life decisions. So when I created this concept for this PERMApowers blog, I really wanted to share with people how we can step into being the best version of ourselves possible. Because the truth is, I was a pretty yucky person at that time. I wasn't treating people I loved well. I wasn't treating myself well. And I was working, I had people tell me I was a workaholic, that I was addicted to work. Maybe I still am a little bit, but it wasn't in a healthy way. It was like I was flying on these business trips. I was selling this tooth powder product, and I kind of tricked myself to believe that I would have equity in this company. So that means that I should work myself to the bone so that I can, possibly someday have ownership in it when it's sold. And in my, I guess, delusional mind, probably because of the Adderall, I thought, well, if I just take one more pill, if I just accomplish one more task, if I close one more chain store, if I help develop one more spin-off brand, if I can land one more international distributor. These were the things in my mind. So I was living my life looking to find accomplishment, fulfillment through the success of this company, instead of looking in the mirror and asking if I was successful in my own emotional health and state and physical state. So when I stumbled upon the PERMA model for well-being, it really changed my life. And I'm here to basically communicate that to everyone. If it can help me, someone who was beyond broken, who drank alcohol every night to a state of unconsciousness, to someone I would wake up in the morning and swallow my orange pill, kind of lay back down to sleep in my hangover state, and then it would kick in an hour later and I'm blah, blah, blah. I wasn't eating. I was hardly sleeping. I wasn't living. I was a dead woman walking, and I had had enough of that life. So the inner transformation for me, I think this model of well-being really helped me to kind of sit back and look in the mirror and ask, am I living to my highest potential? Am I well? Do I have well-being in my life? And maybe learning these characteristics and the different aspects of the PERMA model for well-being will help you to kind of assess your own life. And really what I think is, if we can all assess our own lives and come to a place of, harmony and balance within, then there's no doubt that we can express that outward to the external world. And thus, when we change ourselves, we change the planet. So here it is, the PERMA model for well-being. So you've got positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. And I think it's cool that achievement is last, because that is what comes when you embrace the first four. So let's dive deeper. Positive emotions. When you're optimistic and you're enjoying life and you feel love resonating, that high vibration frequency, having positive emotions, that changes everything. Your perspective, your outlook. This impacts the decisions that you make at the most basic level. what you buy, how you spend your time, how you treat your children or your family or your coworkers. Next, engagement. Have you ever felt like you're in flow mode? Like when you see a surfer who's riding the wave and you're like, damn, they're in flow mode right now. They are like totally dominating this huge task that is so much bigger than them, but they have control over themselves, and thus they have control over that which is larger than them, and it's connected. Full attention, full focus, fully engaged, fully immersed. Relationships. I think we can all relate to being in a bad relationship. I've had my share of bad relationships, but again, positive emotions. Let's focus on what a healthy relationship can bring. When you find someone who's loving, who you trust, who you resonate with, that brings you up, that is the kind of relationship we ought to aspire to achieve. Meaning, having a sense of purpose beyond your own personal gain, feeling like there's something bigger in this world that you're connected to, feeling that you are playing a role in something bigger than yourself, greater than yourself, and believing that you're meant to, that you're destined to. Having meaning will change everything. Lastly, accomplishment. So you can try to be happy drinking or smoking or doing drugs or whatever, but that temporary happiness or high could never outshine the long-lasting feeling that you have when you accomplish something, when you accomplish a long-term goal. It's amazing, that feeling of adrenaline. And God, like I've had emails come through where speakers, for one of our events, they agree to do it. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I could land them. And when I see the notification on my phone that they agreed to speak at my event, I convinced them. And now their message is going to help so many people. I have literally jumped for joy and like just totally lost it. That feeling is undescribable. So this is the PERMA model. This is the framework that I'm operating from. And I want to share with you a little bit how I implemented this in my life and how it's really helped me ascend to the highest version of myself. And obviously every day I'm still working on becoming a better person. And I feel really excited about this PERMApowers project because I want to meet other people who are working toward these goals. I want to review natural products that are, conscious companies that are like entrepreneurs that are offering services that are helping to transform the planet and the decisions that we make operating within it, whether it's sustainable packaging or locally sourced ingredients, and really just embracing this entire model so that we can analyze who we are within and then make decisions on a daily basis that slowly but surely build up the momentum to transform the world and higher our consciousness. So with positive emotion, I like the analogy, is that an analogy? I like the story of a cup that's got some liquid in it. Some people may look at that liquid and say, oh, my cup's half full. Gosh, that sucks. Half of the water's gone. And then you have some people who look at it and say, the cup's half full. That's great. I've got water to drink. That means that I have abundance. I have what I need. Let me go get more of that. I want more of that. Let's do it. Let's go. Engagement. So I was working the last few years. I kind of put PERMApowers on the back burner because I poured my heart and soul into this really cool agrihood. It's a neighborhood around agriculture, tiny home community. I was deeply engaged in that project. Like, yes, they hired me technically as a salesperson, but I was so engaged in that community and so connected to my neighbors. It was much more than that. It was a very transformative experience. And I feel confident. I am confident that if I wouldn't have engaged so fully, that I wouldn't have helped that community through its hard times, through the, on one of the I should have put this on one of the slides, through the manure, if you will. Sometimes you have to go through shit for the beautiful flower to bloom. And because I was so engaged in that project, I took the time. I wasn't working a 9 to 5. I was in it 24/7, and I was talking to my neighbors, and I was engaging with the farmers and working with the company and trying to improve things so that there was a balance and a harmony between the developer, the farmers, the residents, the prospects, everyone. And I do think engagement is a missing link in a lot of us with our careers. So definitely something that helped with that endeavor. Relationships. So I have my family on one hand, my parents, my siblings. Your relationships are an integral part of who you are and who you become. And then you have the relationships that you choose, your chosen family. And I feel really fortunate that I've crossed paths with my chosen family. I had no sense of purpose really other than my career before I connected with John and the kids. And just as much as I've helped them, they have helped me. And it's this beautiful togetherness and connection and it's like the frequency of love, when you have love and higher purpose, higher power, deeper connection, it's the most incredible thing in the world. So relationships will either kill you or crush you or take you to a way higher level. And that's, something that's really important, is to look around and say, well, do I have people around me who are, helping me to grow into the best version of myself? Or do I have some haters? Because sometimes, you might have both, but it's good to really cultivate relationships with people who are a positive influence in your life. So that's just an example of something that really helped me to quit drinking. I quit the Adderall. I don't know if I could have done it alone. It's all about who you spend time with and, ultimately who you want to become, but who you want to become for the people you love, and making decisions that are in alignment with that. My friend, we were hanging out yesterday. I was venting to him. Man, John and I have been through some tough shit. I'm not going to go into details, but we have gone through a very traumatic experience that, honestly, I think if it weren't for the love and the connection and the inner just soulmate vibration frequency of higher awesomeness that our relationship is, and my relationship with the kids, I think honestly it's just really easy to give up when things get hard. And life, no matter where you are or who you choose to associate with, is going to try to drag you down. Sometimes people will try to drag you down. But my friend yesterday, he said something that really resonated with me. And he said, you are going to have two people in your life. You're going to have, on the one hand, the anchor, which pulls you down. No matter how much progress you try to make, no matter how fast you want to go, that person is just dead weight, pulling you down, trying to bring you down to their lower vibration frequency of anger, hate. It's like how libertarians look at the state. They think the state's this evil entity, right? Dragging them down, preventing humans from flourishing and becoming this innovative, incredible, aligned, co-creative, cool species with one with nature, right? And then on the other hand, there's the sail. The sail is like a relationship that moves you forward and helps guide you and pick up speed and travel to where it is you want to go. So if you're a boat, you're going to have both a sail and an anchor. But at some point, you can either release the anchor and set sail and never look back, or you can let the anchor drag you down. So I thought that was really cool, and it really resonated with me. And man, on the topic of relationships, seriously, I'm sure that everyone listening can relate to having someone in your life who is just not well, who is toxic, who says you can't, you won't, who makes up lies about you, who says things that are just so ridiculous. It's like this person is either delusional or they are a demon. Like, I hate to even put it that way, but here's the thing. We have power over our thoughts. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. So I encourage everyone, if you're implementing this PERMA well-being model into your life and really embracing this framework, take a long, hard look at your relationships and look at who is helping you set sail and who is dragging you the fuck down. Okay. And then meaning is, finding a higher purpose. Like with the toothpaste company, the tooth powder company, we really revolutionized the whole oral hygiene industry. It was so cool. I felt like I had this meaning on the planet to like help people stop using fluoride and sodium lauryl sulfate and all these crappy ingredients that are super toxic, like to the point where it's like, don't swallow this, it's poison, but put it in your mouth and brush your teeth with it. So having meaning with your work, meaning with your extracurricular activities, like the liberty movement. A lot of people are doing this because they have a sense of meaning. They think that it is going to help create a more equitable and just world, right? So like in your free time, in your career, just ask yourself, is this making me feel, is this meaningful to me? And is there a bigger, purpose to all of this and the actions that I'm taking? And then lastly, I'm going to really harp on this one, is accomplishment. And I really do believe if you incorporate the first few, this will come like a walk in the park. It wasn't long ago that I was organizing an event called Imaji Living. And we had I tried so hard for this event. I think we had 20 people show up and, 8 of those people were speakers. I tried so hard, guys. I just believed in it wholeheartedly. It was an eco-village seminar about net zero energy and homesteading and all the tiny homes, this sort of thing, and entrepreneurship. And literally less than 20 people showed up. But here's the thing, with accomplishment, to some people, they might think that's a failure. But to me, I felt so accomplished. I was like, oh my gosh, I pulled this thing off. We had all these great speakers. People showed up. This is great. And because of that positive emotion and feeling that sense of meaning and fulfillment, I was like, let's do another one. Let's keep going. Let's reach out to so-and-so. And that was in 2017. And now here I am 5 years later with the relationships that I've built with incredible coworkers and even, John, my romantic partner and business partner. But this is what we accomplished. Let me tell you. So the Exit and Build Land Summit had over 500 people in person and over 25,000 people registered virtually. I view that as an accomplishment, just as much as I view the first event that had 20 people as an accomplishment. But it's a different frame of reference because I have grown. I have embraced the PERMA well-being model. I have healed from my addictions and my toxic decisions that were dragging me down. And I have soared with the sail, found the right people, and now have sailed to new heights. What are we going to do next? Who are we going to have the next time around? I mean, the sky's the limit. We're going to build our own event center. We're going to change the world, right? So this accomplishment is that's the real long-term goal, right? So we also, at one point in our life, would have viewed us moving into a tiny home as an accomplishment. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the sales manager of this big community. I'm so cool. We've got a tiny home that we live in. That's ours. We're not renting the upstairs of our friend's house anymore. John's not living in a, school bus that's dilapidated. I'm not living in a glamper anymore, although I love my glamper and you can see my renovation posts on my website if you want to. But the point is, this tiny home at one point felt like a huge accomplishment. We're so close to downtown. We're near our dance place. And there's a warehouse. We were so excited. But after a year of living in a tiny home with 2 kids, things started to get a little old. So we kind of kicked that frame of reference and said, let's buy our own property. Let's live in this tiny home in the short term so that we can accomplish something greater. And that's exactly what we did. So we went and found an awesome permaculture realtor. He helped us find this 10-acre homestead with 2 structures on it. We brought the earnest money in. we freaking closed the deal and we accomplished our goal and we bought the homestead. We have community members now. We just got chickens. We've got a flourishing garden up and going. It wasn't so flourishing in the summer, such as nature. But the point is, it's all about frame of reference and kind of how you perceive things. And something I really want to focus on is highlighting people's accomplishments. So in this podcast, bringing people on who have accomplished things that really pump us up and make us feel like if they can do it, I can do it too. And through that, making decisions that help us kind of tap into that higher purpose. So another accomplishment, we were able to buy a dog for our daughter for Christmas. Look at the joy, the happiness, the feeling of just like we provided this for them. They are so excited for this new family member. And it's just like so exciting to have a situation where you're working so hard and you're in a financial place where you can drop a couple $1,000s on a little Yorkie for your daughter because that's what she wants, for Christmas. So everybody has a different definition of accomplishment. But for me, the look on the kid's face in this picture is like accomplishment in a nutshell. And that's our little farm dog now. So we're very excited about little Mason. He's a cutie patootie. Okay. And yes, I do say weird things like cutie patootie. So what I want to ask you in closing is this. Now that you know the PERMA model for well-being, and now that you're kind of tapped into this idea and seeing how it is something that I use to help pull myself out of a rut and how to become a better version of myself, I want to challenge you to write down, think up, whatever resonates most with you, areas and ways that you can apply this framework to your life. What is it going to take for you to live a life of well-being and to feel like there's hope, that you're not black-pilled, that you're not in a place where you're powerless, that you're feeling like so gung-ho, let's go freaking dominate, let's do this, find your people, find your purpose, and just change from within so that you can help create a more beautiful world without. Okay, so with that being said, all right, this is my first go around. I didn't get the memo that you're not supposed to do slideshows for a podcast. So for anyone listening, I am going to post the video on YouTube and all the other Odyssey and this and that channels. But I don't intend to use visuals so much in the future. I really want to have conversations with people, to talk about innovative products that have hit the market, things that can help revolutionize one's journey in homesteading and, having a sense of entrepreneurial integrity. And these are some things that I am thinking of, but I would love to hear from you. So please let me know, do you have someone that you would like for me to interview? Do you have topics that you'd like for me to cover? Like, I am interested in cryptocurrency, holistic health, and critical thinking, and just, even philosophical topics and economics and alternative living, like with the tiny homes and homesteading and such, and definitely permaculture. So these are all things that kind of the gears are turning in my mind. But, with that being said, I think I'm going to wrap up this podcast, and thank you very much for listening. My mom yesterday, she was on the phone with me and she said, Rebecca, I saw a Facebook post that you're going to talk about overcoming your addiction to Adderall, and that you are telling people on the internet that you healed from being an alcoholic, or that you are still an alcoholic, but that you don't drink anymore, and blah, blah, blah. She's like, why would you tell people this? And I had to kind of think about that. And I responded to my mom by saying, I have felt the pain and sting of addiction. I know what it feels like to feel stuck. I know what it feels like to be dependent on something and to have physical side effects if you don't have that substance. The situation I put myself in by taking Adderall and drinking alcohol and even smoking cigarettes, I mean, this was like this was not good. And this was something that was really challenging to overcome. And really at that time, nobody was talking about the pharmaceutical industry and how horrible it is. And alcohol was like celebrated. I mean, in a way it still is. And so I said to my mom, if I am doing this podcast and I can help even one person who's struggling right now, then that to me is worth it. And I went to this conference recently and they said something that really stuck with me. One of the speakers said, when you share your story, the person that you will help the most is the person who's struggling with the same problems that you used to experience. So if there's anyone out there listening who is like, yeah, I don't want to drink every night. Like, no, I don't want to smoke cigarettes. And yeah, I do believe that I could transform into a better version of myself by sharing that I went through that journey and it was hard and I'm here today and I survived and I have had an experience of a near-death experience, like people who maybe are struggling with something similar. If I can help motivate them or make them feel like it's going to work out, if you just start making micro decisions, micro miracles to kind of start chipping away and climbing out of that, rut, then so be it. Like, then it's worth it for me. And the time that I'm investing in this, why am I doing this? I don't know. I guess I feel like frustrated that people are always complaining about the way the world is, but they're not willing to do the work themselves. It's like, if you really want to make the world a better place, it's not going to happen by you working to change a policy or to vote someone into office or whatever. The real change starts when you look within and make decisions for yourself that help you come into alignment with your highest purpose and set that intention. And when you do that inward, it just has this incredible ripple effect. So the more people I can inspire to even think this way, I think is going to help, for us, for future generations. So that's kind of what I have for you today. That's my story. It's not always pretty, but that's it. And all right. Yeah. So let me know what you think, guys. Like, I'm new at this. I don't know. I think every week I'm going to do like a product review and just share something that I've learned that week that I think is cool. And then I'm going to interview someone who has something to share in the framework of the PERMApowers model for well-being. The positive psychologist who created this, I think his name's Martin Seligman. I haven't looked at his work in a while, but I would love to interview him. So I'm going to reach out to him if he's still alive. I guess this was all created in the 90s, but somehow, some weird way, I stumbled upon it and it just really resonates with me. And I hope that it helps you too. So thank you for listening. I've created a YouTube page and a Facebook and Instagram and Telegram. So check out PERMApowers there for more content. And in the meantime, I'll be sharing videos, pictures, images, motivational quotes, videos from our homestead and kind of just, our daily life pursuing this off-grid homesteading kind of alternative living, pioneering that whole movement. So thanks y'all for your time. And until next week, bye.